to make sure that they can be concluded successfully. And as also Pete Hegseth said yesterday, the new American Secretary of Defense, it is crucial that whatever comes out of those talks, it is durable, it is enduring. No Minsk III. We cannot have that again. We cannot have Putin again trying to capture a square kilometer, a square mile of Ukraine in the future. Then, of course, we will also discuss today spending. We have to spend more, not only because the US expects that, because they expect Europe to take its and pay its fair share. But also we have to spend more because we know the threat coming from Russia and from other adversaries is increasing. And that will be debated today. And here I think there is a clear expectation from the side of the US, but also a clear commitment yesterday that this alliance is here to stay for the generations to come. And we will discuss today the defense industrial base, how to produce more. We are not producing enough. And this is a collective problem we have from the US up to and including Turkey and including the whole of the European Union, Norway, UK. We have fantastic defense industries, but we are not producing enough. We are producing in 3 months an ammunition. No, I would say Russia is producing in 3 months an ammunition, what the whole of the alliance is producing in a year. And this is simply not sustainable. We have to ramp up the defense industry production. So these issues will be on the table today in the Ministers of Defense meeting, and then afterwards also in the lunch we will have with Minister Umerov of Ukraine, where we discuss the relations between NATO and Ukraine. So thank you very much. Maybe a few questions. I can only do one question at a time. Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Secretary Hegseth rhetoric that we heard yesterday was in any way harmful to NATO? Just the way he talked about
As I said, Secretary Hegseth, but also what later came out of Washington, clearly were big announcements. And at the same time, this is how an alliance should be governed. We are an alliance of democracies. We need to debate, and also I see a clear convergence, as I said, that we want peace, that the peace has to be enduring, that we have to make sure that Ukraine is in the best possible position, and for the Europeans to step up in defense spending and collectively to step up the defense industrial production. So here there is a clear convergence. Sir, yes.
It's clear that things have changed here. What direction is this alliance now going?
This alliance is a family. As Pete Hegseth said yesterday and so many others, it is there for generations to come. We are there to make sure that we have the best possible deterrence in place to fight off any adversary now and in the future. But it means that we have to get to a good deal in Ukraine. We have to ramp up defense spending. We have to ramp up defense industrial production. These are clear tasks we collectively have. We will debate them. We might not always agree immediately. But as always, in the end, we come to common positions.
So you have said, your mantra has been, no decisions about Ukraine without Ukraine. Yet yesterday we saw Donald Trump having a phone call with President Putin without Ukraine. He's going to meet President Putin without Ukraine. This looks to many like the beginning of the betrayal of Ukraine.
What we have seen yesterday was the statements coming out of Washington, including, and you forget to mention that, his long phone call with President Zelensky. So we will see how this progresses from now on, step by step. Of course, it is crucial. We talk about Ukraine, that Ukraine is closely involved in everything happening about Ukraine.
Representing the U.S. press corps. Thanks for doing this. Do you consider President Trump's phone call with Putin the beginning of peace negotiations?
It clearly gives that impression that it was a successful phone call. We all want peace in Ukraine. Obviously, we have to make sure that Ukraine is in the best possible position. It is crucial that when a peace deal is struck, that peace deal is enduring. That Putin knows that this is the end, that he can never again try to capture a piece of Ukraine. So that has to be part of those negotiations, and no doubt that is also on the mind of President Trump and the American team. And today and the coming days and the coming week, obviously we will closely coordinate between allies. Final question, and then we'll meet again at the post-ministerial press conference. So, yes.
is the best possible position for Ukraine? Would it be even stronger and better if things like the return of occupied territory and NATO membership would still be on the table?
Well, what I've said before, I believe we have to make sure that we concentrate on the big issues. And the one big issue, number one, is to make sure when talks start that Ukraine is in a position that Putin knows he has to come to the table. It is for him crucial to come to a deal on Ukraine, so Ukraine has to be in a strong position. And again, as I said before, it is crucial that when a deal is struck, that deal will not unravel. We have seen in 2014 what happened with Minsk. We thought that deal was there to stay. It didn't. Putin simply continued trying to grab pieces of Ukraine. And then on 2022, he started the full onslaught late February 2022. We can never, ever have that again. So I'm absolutely pro-peace. I am pro-peace talks. Absolutely, but at the same time we have to make sure that what comes out of those talks is there to stay and that Ukraine then is safe. Thank you so much. We'll meet again later today.
Thank you so much.
And originally we found you, I think, Katja, my colleague, that we bumped into at the Okay, yeah, okay, and so that's how you met. And how did one get connected to the UN?
it's a great morning. The United States is proud to be here, proud to be a part for a very long time of NATO, and ensuring NATO remains robust and strong, maintaining deterrence on the European continent. You know, a lot of people don't know, in Afghanistan, I served under a NATO mission as a U.S. troop alongside a lot of brave NATO troops. That was a different kind of mission for NATO, far-flung after America was attacked. The war in Ukraine, the aggression by Russia, has been a factory reset for NATO, a realization that this alliance needs to be robust and strong and real. And that's why President Trump has called for increased defense spending across the board for NATO, for European countries to recognize this is an urgent, real threat to the continent. This aggression needs to be a wake-up call. Americans are an active part of this alliance, as we have been and will continue to. But when it comes to defense spending, even 2% of GDP is not enough. 3 and 4, and ultimately, as President Trump has said, 5% of defense spending is critical. A realization that there is a Russian war machine that has sought to take more and more land in Ukraine. And standing up against that is an important European responsibility. And of course, the United States has been there for a long time as well. My role as a representative of the United States is to speak realistically about the course of that conflict. And I think you saw from President Trump yesterday, who himself is the best negotiator on the planet, bringing two sides together to find a negotiated peace, which is ultimately what everyone wants. So I look forward to the ministerial today with our NATO allies to have honest conversations about where we are, but to bring peace on the continent, ensure that Europe steps forward in leadership as far as security guarantees, and that America is right alongside our allies in NATO to ensure we remain strong and that this conflict comes to an end. I'll take one question. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't your plan for Ukraine actually a betrayal of all the Ukrainian soldiers who gave their lives defending the whole of their country? And isn't it just a reward for dictators who use military strength to take what they want?
Well, that's your language, not mine. Certainly not a betrayal. As I said to our allies yesterday, we recognize the incredible commitment that has been made over many years. And no country, as the President Trump has pointed out, has made a larger commitment to the Ukrainian mission than the United States of America, north of $300 billion. So the United States has invested in stabilizing those front lines after the aggression of Russia. There is no betrayal there. There is a recognition that the whole world and the United States is invested and interested in peace, a negotiated peace. As President Trump has said, stopping the killing. And so that will require both sides recognizing things they don't want to. That's why I think the world is fortunate to have President Trump. Only he at this moment could convene the powers that be to bring peace, and that's a welcome sign. My job as the Defense Secretary, working alongside NATO, is to ensure that the defense capabilities of this alliance are as strong and robust as possible to deter any future aggression on the continent. That's our role, to be leaders in NATO, and that's what we'll continue to do. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning. Today we will be talking about military capabilities that we will need for our collective security, to be able to defend our peoples, our countries, our territories, also our values and our interests. We know we have to invest heavily into our security and into our capabilities. We have come a long way. We have a long way to go. This is extremely important for all of our allies to stick together here. We have very ambitious targets while we are still fulfilling our pledges that we have committed to at the Vilnius and at the Washington summits. But numbers should not be set arbitrarily. What we should be focusing on is our plans and our ambitions that determine our investments, not the other way around. So this is what we will have to work on. We know there are a lot of challenges because we need to ramp up our military industrial complex in the EU. We need to leverage also our joint procurement, for example, via NSPA. So these are challenges we need to face, and we need to face them urgently. Ukraine needs to continuously be supported by all of us, and Luxembourg will be by Ukraine's side until the very end, and all of the allies should. We had the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting yesterday. Today we will have the NATO-Ukraine Council. There are talks about peace plans. Nothing about Ukraine should be decided without Ukraine at the table. Nothing about European security should be decided without Europeans at the table. Also talking about European security guarantees. This is the only way we will have sustainable peace. Thank you very much.
Borders, do you agree?
I didn't hear the question.
The US yesterday said it's unlikely Ukraine will get NATO membership. Unlikely you can return to pre-2014
borders. Well, we
committed
to having relations with Ukraine also at the Washington summit, and at this point we will stick to that. Thank you.
Goedemorgen minister. Gisteravond op het telefoongesprek tussen Rutte en Putin. Is het
Nou, uiteraard, we think it's very important that Zelensky will be at the negotiation table. As I think we all say in a united way, no discussions about Ukraine without Ukraine. The same is true for Europe, because of course what is negotiated also has implications for security in Europe. So we think that Europe should also sit at the table, of course, especially when there are talks about security guarantees. We need to make sure that also European countries are able to engage in these discussions.
Who will represent Europe?
We'll see. Of course, there's always a discussion within Europe who represents. Personally, you know, that's for me not the most important question. The most important question is that we make sure that there are no negotiations about European security architecture, no negotiations about security guarantees without the involvement of European countries.
How would you describe the direction that this alliance is going now?
I think what we need to do now is to make progress very soon, because we have had long discussions in the past. Now things are becoming more clear, and we need to make sure that we get to peace through strength, that we define what that strength means. We need to define what robust security guarantees mean. And we need to make sure that throughout this process that we stay united, and that we make sure that all the parties that are relevant, Ukraine, European countries, are also sitting at the table.
How optimistic are you that European allies will not be sidelined by? How optimistic are you that European allies in the end will not be sidelined in any kind of peace negotiations?
I think we need to play an important role to safeguard our own security in Europe, and we need to play a more important role in Ukraine, also to create security guarantees there. So I think there is no option to not be at the table, because we are very important in the actual implementation of those security guarantees. And I think there's also a lot that we can bring to the table. There's a lot that we can do together. And in the end, if we work together on this, we are much stronger than if we work on this individually.
Sir, considering the clear words of Secretary Hegseth yesterday, do you think it would be good to have a good conversation in the alliance about its future?
Of course, we will have good conversations today. It is important that we stay united, that we project unity towards our enemies, towards our adversaries. So we need to have, I think, clear and direct discussions in those rooms behind closed doors, but then also come to an agreement and make sure that we project unity and strength to our enemies.
The Americans drew a number of red lines for Ukraine yesterday regarding the peace negotiations with Putin. Do you think that's a wise strategy if you want to be a strong actor and have a lot of leeway against Putin?
I think a lot needs to be worked out in the upcoming weeks and months, because we are talking about very serious things. When you think about security consequences, that is very serious. And I think that in that process, throughout this progress, there are so many options. We need to have a certain level of ambiguity, because we don't want to have Putin and others look in our cards that we have on the negotiation table. So I think it is important to project unity, to make sure that we speak with one voice, and also that we keep a certain level of ambiguity in the next couple of months to make sure that we do not inform Putin.
The US says NATO membership of Ukraine is unrealistic. Do you share that assessment?
I think regarding membership of Ukraine, you always need to make a distinction between the very short term and the long term. But we as Netherlands have always said that Ukraine is on an irreversible path to NATO membership, and that's still our opinion. Thank you.
Prepare for peace troops now.
Schönen guten Morgen, meine Damen und Herren. Seit gestern ist jetzt klar, worüber ja schon seit längerer Zeit spekuliert wurde.
And then we will, of course, discuss Ukraine. What happened yesterday, of course, here in the meeting and also coming out of the White House will lead to debate. But there is a clear convergence emerging, and I'm very happy about that. And the convergence is, one, we need peace in Ukraine. Two, we have to make sure that Ukraine is in a position of strength. And three, as you, Pete, said yesterday, we can never, ever, ever again have a Minsk III situation where a peace is not durable. So collectively, we'll work on that. We will discuss this amongst the allies. I look forward to that. Pete, again, welcome to NATO. Welcome on board.
Well, Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much.
So much.
Appreciate it. And we did, my wife and I were happy to join you last night for dinner. We appreciate your hospitality and your leadership of this alliance, which is more relevant and more robust than ever. And that is certainly the U.S. commitment on behalf of President Trump, the recognition that the world is a safer place, a freer place when NATO is strong. And we certainly feel that way, and our investment reflects that. We echo your sentiments on defense spending. The President has said 2% is not enough, and we're going to argue that up to 5% is the necessary investment from NATO countries to ensure we're able to meet the threats of the future, whether that's Russia on the continent or an ascendant China who has their own ambitions as well. But also the defense industrial base, not just in Europe, but in the United States as well. We need the ability to create the systems and the munitions necessary to sustain a fight. One other thing I would add is foreign military sales, and that's something the United States is committed to expediting the process of ensuring that our allies get what they need when they need it. That is critically important. And then as you saw yesterday, there's one man in the world capable of convening the parties together to bring peace, and that's President Donald Trump, which he demonstrated yesterday in speaking to both Vladimir Putin and Zelensky, and bringing about, we believe, a durable, lasting peace on the continent, which his goal is to stop the killing and bring that peace, that it's in the interest of the continent and the United States to do so. We look forward to even more robust conversations today, realistic, honest, straightforward discussions, but all under the guise of full support and belief that a strong NATO alliance is what will defend the free world, alongside ensuring America maintains that leadership role. So, Mr. Secretary General, thank you.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you.
Okay. See you guys later.